operators. They're used to allocate memory in C++. Let's make a working copy of new-delete.cpp. Paste that into our working project and open it up here. We'll go ahead and maximize this so that you can see the whole file. It's worth noting here on line 28 that Eclipse is giving me an error with the null pointer keyword. This is a new keyword in C++. The problem is that with this new version of GCC, null has been removed. The old null macro has actually been removed from the IO stream header. And so this won't work. There's a number of workarounds. We could just use a void pointer and that'll work fine. Or we can say if not A, and it just gets promoted to a bool, and that works just fine. Really, the correct form here is to use the new null pointer keyword, and Eclipse doesn't know about it, but it compiles and runs just fine. So that error we can safely ignore. And the error, if I hover over it here, it just says symbol could not be resolved. So here we have a simple class. It's got 3 data members that are integers. And our constructor there on line 17 simply constructs them with 0, 1, 2, and 3 as the default constructor, or if we pass it an argument, it'll start at that integer number and initialize them with that number plus 1 and plus 2. We also have defined a destructor, and the destructor just prints out a message that says the destructor was called. And of course, the constructor also prints out a message that the constructor has been called. So it's a very simple class. And down here on line 27, we're allocating space for one of these using the new operator. And the new operator, of course, returns a pointer to this new object. The no throw parameter to the new operator simply tells it not to throw exceptions if it fails. And then the new operator takes the name of the class that it's allocating, and it allocates space for that class, and it calls the constructor. In this case, it's calling the default constructor because we're not passing it a parameter. And then down on line 33, we destroy the object that we've created by passing the pointer that was created by new to the delete operator. And so let's go ahead and run this. Press the compile and run button there, and you see the message allocating space for one A object. That comes from line 26. And then we actually allocate space for an object, and it gets constructed on line 27, and so we see a constructor called. It didn't fail, so we're not getting our error. And on line 32, we're simply using the accessors A, B, and C to print out the values so that we can see that we actually have successfully created an object. You notice that we're using the pointer member dereference operators there for A, B, and C, right there on line 32. And then we destroy the object with the delete operator, passing it the pointer that was created in line 27, and we can see a destructor called and space for A object deleted. If you want to, you can pass arguments to the constructor right here. So we'll pass it a 5, and we'll compile and run, and we see now it's printing out 5, 6, and 7. Or you can allocate space for an array instead of just allocating 1. So I can say 5 in brackets here, and that'll allocate space for an array of 5 objects. If I do that, I need to change the form of delete to match, and I need to give it empty brackets there, and it'll know how many objects were created by this pointer. So you have to make sure that you save your pointer to pass to delete. So now we're allocating space for 5 of these. It'll still say 1 because I'm not going to change that. And you'll see that we get 5 constructors called and 5 destructors called. And in fact, if I want to, I can call printf on all 5 of these. And we'll go ahead and just dereference with the I rather than using this pointer operator. So that looks like that. And then when I compile and run this, you'll see we're able to see all 5 of those. When you're using new to create an array, you cannot pass arguments to the constructor, so it'll always use the default constructor. And you always need to remember to use the array form of delete to correspond. The new operator is used for allocating space for objects in C++. Every object allocated with new must be destroyed with delete, otherwise your program will leak memory. For more details, see the new and delete operators in the chapter on operators. Now let's delete our work